Welcome back to another video on the channel. Wimbledon 2021 men's final day. Arguably my favourite day of the year, the men's final at Wimbledon. When you also add the fact that England are in the Euros final, it's become a very big day in my household, and particularly in England. So I'm going to talk through Matteo Berrettini against Novak Djokovic, look at where the match might be won and lost, their tournaments so far, their semi-final performances, before finally giving my prediction on today's final. I'm going to kick off with Matteo Berrettini, and he arrives into Wimbledon in fantastic form after winning Queens. And I watched all of his matches at Queens, and I thought, this is going to take a special performance from somebody to take this guy down at Wimbledon. And I say that because he's got a perfect game style for Wimbledon and for the grass courts, and he's executed it perfectly for Queens and Wimbledon. He's carried on throughout. He's got that huge first serve, a monster forehand. The backhand slice is becoming better and better throughout his time on the grass, and he's also his drop shots and his execution of those drop shots, his touches around the net have also been very impressive. I think he's adding variety to his game, which is massively important on grass. So I'm sure he's hugely confident of winning this final today. He's won Queens, as I say, coming in. He's walked to Wimbledon final pretty much. He's never really looked like getting beat. He's had a few four setters, but on the whole, Berrettini's in flying form, full of belief, full of confidence, got recent wins on the board, and yeah, he's got the weapons to hurt anybody in the world. He was also my outside pick to win this tournament, and Djokovic is my champion from the start, so the fact that they both got to the final is a pretty rarity for my predictions. So I'm going to look back now on Berrettini's semi-final performance against Hubert Hurkacz, and for two sets I thought Berrettini handled the occasion and played brilliantly. He handled the pressure excellently well, particularly that opening set. He kept it simple, the first serve, the forehand, net play. He used his weapons effectively, which is what you've got to do. And I think, again, I'll talk about this later in the video, I think for him to win today, he has to try and keep it simple as much as possible against Djokovic. I must say I was surprised at how much Hurkacz struggled with the nerves. He lost 11 games in a row in the first two sets. I think for him it was probably a case that he peaked in the quarter-final against Federer. To play your first match on centre court, your first ever Grand Slam quarter-final, and beat Roger Federer in straight sets, that must do crazy things to your emotions, and it's always difficult to repeat a performance after you play that well, and I think that's what Hurkacz suffered with. However, one interesting point I did pick up on when I was watching the match is that Berrettini should have won this match in straight sets. He won the second set 6-love. Hurkacz was nowhere to be seen really. Berrettini was just utterly dominant on serve and return, but he didn't win in straight sets. It went four, and although he wasn't punished because he still won the match in four sets, Djokovic would punish that. You saw with Djokovic against Shapovalov, you saw against Tsitsipas in the French Open final that if you don't finish him off and you don't take your chances, once Djokovic switches momentum back in his favour, then it's near impossible to turn it back around. And this might be a harsh look from Berrettini. He only lost the third set against Hurkacz in the semi-final, but you just feel like he has to finish him off. He has to be ruthless, and I think he switched off just for an instance in a service game. He got broken, the match started to turn, and you just, as I say, you can't do that against Djokovic. Once you make a few enforced errors, you give the service break, your mentality starts to drop, then Djokovic just jumps all over it. So it did dent me confidence a little bit in Berrettini, the fact that he didn't win that one in the straights. So looking at Berrettini's tournament as a whole, he's lost 3 sets so far, which again is a slight worry to me when you look at the way he's been playing the opposition. I just don't think he should be dropping sets with the weapons that he's got, and that just suggests to me that he struggles to maintain the highest level throughout these matches, which again would cost him against Djokovic, where you have to be the ruthless best throughout. As much as the forehand and the serve are rightly talked about, he has a beautiful backhand slice as Berrettini. I think it's a shot that he's definitely improving all the time. He uses it to construct points a lot better. I think Berrettini used to be guilty of overhitting the ball and attacking, too many balls, if anything, trying to hit winners from impossible positions. But over time, I think the backhand slice allows him to get into rallies. It allows a short ball from the opponent, which then allows for the forehand to come into play. And also the drop shot, I think he's executed it brilliantly throughout this tournament. Lovely little touches around the net, and for a big guy, he's a very good mover, and he has got some great hands around the net. So he does have that variation. If the going does get tough and the forehand has an off spell, then at least he has some of the weapons to try and break Djokovic down with. I think against any other player in the world today, he would probably be favourite. But just knowing how good Djokovic can play, the history, the experience, it does cast doubt in terms of predicting Berrettini to win this match. So I'm going to move on now to Novak Djokovic, and I think Djokovic would admit himself, and everybody would admit that I don't think Djokovic has played anywhere near his best in this tournament, but that is forgivable when you think that he's 34 years old. He won the French Open 2 weeks before Wimbledon started. He came through a very tough French Open as well. It wasn't easy. You know, he was 2 sets down to Musetti. He was 2 sets down to Stefanos Tsitsipas in the final. He played a thrilling, brutal match against Rafael Nadal. So mentally, I think it's took its toll. Physically, it has as well. Luckily for Djokovic, when Rublev and Tsitsipas exited the draw, it did become a very favourable one for him, and he's pretty much cruised to the final. I think for Djokovic, he has been a little bit passive at times. He's fatigued in long exchanges, but the will to win, the serve, and being the mental giant that he is, has dragged him through tough moments in matches. You know, he saved 21 out of 26 break points this tournament, which just says it all. You know, under pressure, he finds the first serve, he constructs points so well. And yeah, he's just a mental giant. You know, in the tough moments, there's nobody you'd rather have in a tennis court than Novak Djokovic. I think the Shapovalov semi-final was a prime example of that. You know, Djokovic even said himself on court that Shapovalov was a better player for those first 2 sets, but Djokovic just hung in there with big serve and quality under pressure again, and then defended and asked Shapovalov to hit winners at the business end of the sets, which forced errors. You know, I think Shapovalov, while I'm talking of him, give him huge credit. He's an unbelievable shot maker, a crowd pleaser, and he just needs experience. You know, we've all seen the other day he largely downplayed Djokovic, the world number one, for 2 sets. Yes, he didn't win them, but there's still huge positives that he can take from that match. You know, the forehand, the backhand, the serve. You know, the will to win, the way he involves the crowd, and he's a brilliant player to watch. He's an outstanding young player, and I'm sure with experience that he'll learn so much from that match. I think I said on Twitter after the game, he'll probably learn more from that one single match against Djokovic than the entirety of his career so far. Such a great learning experience, and he'll be better for it in the future. I think with Shapovalov, he perhaps just attacked the wrong balls on huge points. He needs patience. He needs to play the percentage shots a little bit more. But as I said, over time that will come. But that match was just Novak Djokovic all over. You know, I think he probably played 60% of his best. Shapovalov played around 90. Djokovic won the match 3-love. So it's all that matters. You know, it's a results business at the end of the day. Djokovic produced his best tennis in the biggest moments. Shapovalov didn't. Djokovic won. So it was just an Novak Djokovic typical match, where perhaps he didn't play his best tennis, but when he needed to fight, when he needed to produce, he did. And that just, you know, backs up Djokovic's claims as to why he's one of the greatest players of all time. So as we all probably know by now, Djokovic is chasing the Golden Slam and 20th Grand Slam title, which would put him level with Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. I just see that as extra motivation for him, and I can't see him being stopped. You know, lots of pundits and fans have said that it brings extra pressure and he might crumble. You know, I think the titles and the greatness and the history, I think will just motivate Djokovic even more to win this one today. He hasn't lost a match on centre court since the 2013 final against Andy Murray. He's won 20 Grand Slam matches in a row. He's won 18 sets in a row this tournament after losing the first without playing his best tennis. Today, I think we could see a special performance from Novak Djokovic. You know, performance to really stamp his authority, make another statement, and you know he wants to be known as the greatest tennis player of all time. If he gets to 20 Grand Slams, he does the Golden Slam. I think it would be difficult to argue that, but Djokovic will want to do it in style, and I think this is, you know, his opportunity. I really do. I think the keys to winning this match for both players. Djokovic can win points in any way. You know, first serves, he serves a lot of aces. He's serving as well in 2021 as I've ever seen him. He's the best returner of all time, which could be key, I think, in this match. The forehand, I think, has been brilliant this Wimbledon. The backhand's the most consistent in the world. Drop shot execution has improved over the past 18 months and is a major weapon of his now. But when the match-defining moments come, he can defend, he can counter punch and produce shots from another planet, which is ultimately what separates him being the best and not being the best. In terms of Berrettini, do I think Matteo Berrettini has the belief in the game to hurt Djokovic? Yes. He just doesn't have the experience, in my opinion. You know, if he gets nervy at any point, the serve will be the first thing to go, and that's his biggest weapon. You know, if Berrettini doesn't have a good serving day, I think he'll know himself that this match is done before it starts. You know, Djokovic is an exceptional returner, but if Berrettini can send down 135 mile an hour plus first serves at 75-80%, then it will make it incredibly difficult for Djokovic. I think Berrettini has to keep it simple. You know, I've talked about the slice and the drop shots, and although they are very good against other opponents, um, he isn't going to beat Djokovic in a tactical battle with long exchanges. It's just not going to work for Berrettini. I think he needs to play first strike tennis. You know, if he gets the first serve in, he needs to batter it up with a huge forehand. And although it might sound too simple and too predictable, I think Berrettini has to just hammer away forehand, forehand, forehand as much as possible. You know, it's his biggest weapon. It's his money maker, and that's the way he's going to beat Djokovic, by overpowering him from the back of the court. And I think, yeah, as I say, as good as the slices are and as good as the drop shots are, and he will need to add variation to his game throughout the match at times, especially if the forehand starts to go wayward. You know, I don't think he's going to beat Djokovic in that way. So I think the forehand is the key, and he has to look to attack as much as possible and just hope he paints the lines consistently throughout the match. Djokovic, how does he win the match? I just think he needs to be Novak Djokovic. You know, repeat what he has done all year, pretty much. Quality serving and returning, variety and consistency in rallies, and you just know that in tight sets and in tight moments that he's coming. You know, he's the best player in the world on the court and mentally. I just don't see him being stopped by anybody. I've said that at the start of the tournament, and I stand by my points. I just think he's too good and too motivated to be stopped at Wimbledon. The serve is absolutely huge for both players. You know, I think the return of serve could be the difference once Djokovic starts to get a read and make a lot of returns, or if Berrettini does get tight and the serve starts to go. You know, it'd be very, very difficult for Berrettini to win this match. I think Berrettini has to win the first set to stand a chance. You know, Djokovic is an outstanding front runner. If he gets a lead, literally has history in his sights, I don't think he'll be stopped. So, in terms of prediction, I don't want it to be a three-set still final. I want it to be competitive. But in as much as I want to give Berrettini a set and give him credit for his performance as a queen in Wimbledon, you know, I'm not trying to downplay Berrettini at all here, but we're talking about Novak Djokovic, who's won back-to-back Grand Slams, who's won 19 Grand Slam titles, who's got so much experience, who's so good under pressure, and just looks unbeatable at the moment. You know, I think, as I say, I think we're going to see a special Novak Djokovic performance today. If we don't, if Djokovic turns up like he did against Shapovalov, then I do think Berrettini will win a set due to that serve and forehand. But I just think Djokovic at some point is going to really come out with a statement-like performance and say, I'm the greatest tennis player of all time. I'm now on 20 Grand Slams. I'm going for the Golden Slam. And I don't feel like we've seen that yet at Wimbledon from Djokovic, because I don't think we've had to. But I think we might see a clinical performance today from Djokovic, and that's my prediction. Djokovic to win in straight sets. If you do have any of your own comments in the comment section below, do leave them in the comment section. I do enjoy reading those. I do much appreciate it. Leave a like on the video, and if you want to see more videos on this channel like this one, and for further tournaments, do subscribe. It is much appreciated. Thanks for watching. It's coming home, and I'll see you on the next one.